The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
G'day world, this is the Sniper of the Skies, Robbie Eagles, and you are listening to Keeping It Strong Style.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keeping It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keeping It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the Ace Up podcast on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan solo this week. On today's show, I will preview a Capital Collision and cover all this news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Please support our show by subscribing and following the Social Suplex Podcast Network or Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the network's podcasts over at socialsuplex.com. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. We are streaming live right now for IWGP subscribers on patreon.com/KI Strong Style. If you want access to the weekly live stream, ad-free audio, and bonus content, subscribe at patreon.com/KI Strong Style. And if you're on the Patreon, you get the director's cut version that Rambones is getting tonight. He's on the chat right now on the stream. I don't know where the young boy is, has not jumped online yet and have not been able to get a hold of him. Hopefully everything is okay. But I'm going to hold it down for this week. And yeah, if you jump on the Patreon, you can get the whole behind the scenes. You can see me, we can just chat for a little bit before things get going. So you definitely want to subscribe there. We'll be getting back on the ball with Dominion Deep Dive, episode 5. So hopefully that'll be coming out this week, and also try to get some bonus audio out there, some other reviews and stuff out there as well. Just G1 time was crazy, and also work's been pretty crazy for me lately. So been having to work a little bit late, a little bit overtime last couple weeks as well. So hopefully that will lighten up a little bit, and I should have time to get some bonus content out. Oh, looks like young boy might be coming on. Oh, he says, thought we were doing 7:30, even though we do 7p every week. And I asked him, 7p. Let's see. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen. The young boy, Josh Smith, has joined the stream. Hold on, let me get his
I don't have a good excuse for what's going on. I thought... let me be very clear here. I thought I was showing up early just now. I don't know what the fuck happened. For some reason, I just in my brain thought we were doing 7:30, and I thought I was getting on the show early. And I was like, fuck yeah, like I'm doing a great job here right now. I'm jumping on this shit early. And then I open up the messenger and Jeremy's like, where are you at? 7. I was like, fuck, we 20 minutes late. Oh man, sorry everybody that's listening right now. And it's even weirder now because like before, I'm not usually late, but if I ever was, we weren't actually already recording. So now we're recording.
Yeah, well, luckily it's just Rambones on right now. We can redo this whole thing. I just did the intro far.
You can keep it, man. It's fine. I'm sure you did a fantastic intro. I trust you. Wherever you're at, I'm ready to jump in. As I told you, I'm ready. I'm early.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, just did the intro. Young boy is here now, so I'm not doing the show solo this week. Really have not covered anything at all. Just been talking to Rambones here on the live chat, and given the perks of being on Patreon, you can talk to me before the show live if you want to. So yeah, that's pretty much what's been it. One thing I wanted to start off with, we did have a question from the Discord Daddy with some sad news today. We learned that Sid Vicious, Psycho Sid Justice, passed away. He asked, did Psycho Sid ever work in NJPW? And, I went to Cage Match actually earlier before I even got this question and saw that he did wrestle in New Japan as the Vicious Warrior. Had an IWGP title match, had matches with Antonio Inoki. So Josh, your thoughts on Sid Vicious, Psycho Sid, passing away?
It's really weird how we're so selective about who we will and won't discuss their deaths. There's so many wrestling deaths we could be talking about every week, and we don't talk about any of them. But like Sid's dead, and we're like, fuck it, got to talk about Sid, Well,
I feel like there's some people where like we just, maybe more than you because you're more in the history, but there's just some people where it's not totally New Japan related, and plus we just don't have. There's not a lot of talking points about them really.
There are, but it's just like I feel like there's so many outlets out there that do such a great job at discussing the histories of a lot of those guys that I'm like, it's not really our strong suit necessarily. But yeah, I've never seen Sid in New Japan. I know he did have a run in 1989. And that was kind of not that uncommon for that time period. Certain guys like Scott Hall had a tour or a few tours in the late 80s, early 90s. Undertaker was Punisher Dice Morgan. And they would bring guys in and kind of try them out for short stints. And that's sort of what the deal was with Sid. They brought him in I think early 89. He did one tour and then never came back. And that was right after he'd done the Memphis stuff in 88, 89, and then signed with WCW right after that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Rambo and Slam Pig here says Sid was awesome in early WCW, really made the most of what he had going for him. And I mean, I saw something earlier today where someone called him the greatest bad wrestler of all time. And I think that I'd probably concur with that. If you break down on the Bret Hart scale, the work of Sid, it's terrible. But he was able to maximize the parts of wrestling that big men like himself excel at, where he would just fuck people up and just be an imposing force. And he had a charisma and an aura about him where he always got over, and he was just fucking awesome. And he was a terrible wrestler. He couldn't really wrestle, but he was still able to have a lengthy career. I mean, the guy was wrestling regularly up, from 87 all the way to 2000.
Yeah. And, Rambo just pointed out the aura. And I just think with him, he was just so intense. He did everything with 100% intensity. Even if he said the wrong thing, did the wrong move, the wrong spot, forgot his line, he was on, he was intense, and he was just, live up to that Psycho Sid character and was just super intense and was just always on level 10, that it didn't really matter what he said. It's like, dude, this is a scary dude. He's huge. I know he just he said something stupid, but I'm not going to correct him because he's going to come choke slam me.
Yeah, I mean, not going to go through the whole extent of his career, but I mean, he had tons of great high points, the stuff in Memphis with Jerry Lawler, the early WCW stuff with Sting, the WWF run with Hogan, and then going back to WCW and the Arn Anderson thing where he got stabbed with the I think he stabbed Arn with the scissors and got fired and everything like that, which is fucking crazy. Went back to WWF, had the Psycho Sid run, which was probably the highlight of his career. They put the strap on him, had that title run. I think he won the title twice during that run, had great matches with Undertaker, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, and then, went back to WCW, did the Goldberg thing, the ruler of the world, the famous match with Chris Benoit is probably that Benoit match in, I believe that's early 99 is probably one of the best matches of his whole career. And then after WCW ended, like that was it. Like Sid pretty much was done. And there's some famous stuff with him, like always being so big into softball, where like he wouldn't work in the summers. he didn't want to miss softball and shit like that. Like, yeah, and he had that little brief run in ECW where they fucking popped like huge for him. Like Sid was incredible. Dropped Brian Pillman on his head in the War Games for that super infamous botch finish. Like, yeah, the guy botched all the time, but like, I don't know who, like, I think he's on the short list of greatest squash match wrestlers of all time. It's got to be like him, Goldberg, the Road Warriors, the Steiner brothers, like people that just fucking demolish like jobbers and just look awesome. And that's something that is kind of missing in wrestling. And Sid kind of checks all the boxes,
Yeah, definitely a big part of like that 90s childhood for me, especially, that new generation era. Kind of coming up there, 95, 96, 97. Yeah, just also, you're not going to get a 5-star classic, but like you mentioned, awesome squash matches, super intense, great character.
Let's look at his Asian matches, like from the Asia region on Cage Match. And it's just in 1996, they did a house show in United Arab Emirates, so in Dubai, and then just the one run from like mid-February to early March for New Japan. And he never wrestled in Japan ever again. Like that was it. But his first match in the company, he wrestled Fujinami for the title, had a couple other, he had 4 televised New Japan matches, and 2 of them were singles matches, one with Riki Choshu and one with Fujinami. So they thought enough of him as a monster to bring him in to like job to the stars and kind of get a look. So yeah, that's the full extent of his puro.
Well, rest in peace to Sid.
He worked at Noki.
Yeah, he worked. I saw that. Yeah, he worked at Noki.
There's no tape of that, I imagine. But yeah, he had a match with he made sure to put over Inoki on the way out. Funny shit. Oh my God. Again, guys, I'm so sorry I'm late. Like, I don't know. This has been a weird day for me. I didn't put up the backdrop even. And I know what you're probably thinking, Jeremy. You're probably thinking like, oh, this guy was running late. I purposely didn't put up the backdrop because I'm tired and I've had a crazy day at work, but I thought I was early.
Yeah, I was getting a little bit worried because I saw you were offline on Facebook, and I tried calling your phone and went straight to voicemail. I was like, oh.
Bro, I was charging my phone because I was just like, I had a long day, and I was like, all right, I'm going to charge my phone, make sure my shit's good to go before I have to record at 7:30. And I don't know. We record every week at 7, don't we? Yeah. For some reason in my mind, I just decided.
And I messaged you earlier. I was like 7 p for tonight.
I didn't look at that shit. I just thumbs up to you and moved on with my life,
Oh boy. It's all right. I don't have the backdrop up either. I've kind of boxed myself out. I don't have a lot of space right now with how the studio is configured.
You're proud of your studio now that it's like totally done.
Yeah. And I got some great artwork here in the background that my wife put together. Got the Kiss lyrics there. A Tokyo Dome picture, there's an on-air sign, so yeah,
it's pretty sweet. The main title of the show, immortalized forever. I don't know if we're ever going to move on from that theme. I don't imagine we should, but
I want to keep that theme forever.
But if we ever do, it'll always be immortalized on the walls of I don't know what you're calling your dojo these days.
The Donovan Dojo.
Donovan Dojo. All right.
All right.
Let's jump into this shit.
Yeah. So one thing that didn't happen when I was gone a couple weeks ago was July Wrestler of the Month and Match of the Month. So I figured we do that.
Was I supposed to do that while you were gone?
Well, it happened. That was like the episode I was gone was the first episode of August, but also you had the whole J-Cast and Chris Sampson stuff. And so.
Bro, I didn't think about it at all. Like, I was content to just move on with life. But Yeah, I see here you have the wrestler of the month listed as Takeshita. This shows you I didn't look at the notes. I obviously concur. I think that Takeshita is the hands down runaway winner for that. And we'll have to look at August. He might win August too. I don't know. I think it's going to come down to like him and Zach, really.
Yeah, and Zach is having a match this weekend to kind of close off August, so
we'll see.
Could be Zach.
And didn't he just wrestle Hechicero again?
Yeah, and cage match scores are pretty high.
Plus, that match in Wembley was fucking awesome.
Yeah, the Casino Gauntlet. We'll talk about that a little bit in the news. But yeah, sorry.
But we with Takeshita, I don't have the full list of people he wrestled in July, but
Tsuji, Uemura.
Mm-hmm. Like he hands down had the best July of anybody in the G1, and so that's it. He's wrestler of the month, and I don't know that this is 100% the fact, but I feel strongly that it is, that he's the first outsider we've ever given wrestler of the month awards to, ever, like a non-contracted guy. I don't even think like people that were part-timers like Chris Jericho or John Moxley have ever won that award before. So that's really saying something about the strength of his output that month.
Yeah, the only person I would guess is maybe like a CMLL person, maybe like during Super Juniors, but even then I doubt it.
During Super Juniors, no. Maybe during a Fantasticomania, but I don't think.
I'm thinking like Dragon Lee before he was signed. Like I don't know if he might have won one.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
it's like always Hiromu or Despy.
Yeah,
I can't remember the last time someone had a better tournament realistically than those two guys ever.
Yeah,
it's like going back 8 years. Like who's had a better tournament than those two guys ever?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah. So Konosuke Takeshita, the wrestler of the month. Now we got several options here for match of the month, so we can talk this through here. Throughout Ishii and Yoshihashi, which is the highest rated cage match in New Japan for July. There's
a reason for that.
Yeah. There's Takeshita versus Uemura, which very high also. Dave went 4.75. I went 4.75 on that. There's Gabe Kidd versus Shingo, Takeshita versus Tsuji, Shingo versus Naito, and Naito versus Zack Sabre.
Those were all fantastic matches. If I had to put my vote, it's going to be either Ishii, Yoshihashi, or Takeshita Uemura.
Okay, I think I ended up rating. I think I went 4.5 on Ishii and Yoshihashi. I did go 4 3/4 on Takeshita and Uemura, but I could go either way.
Well, what are you thinking? What is your gut telling you was the match of the month? I feel like the one that wound up having the most buzz was probably Takeshita Yuya Uemura. I feel like Ishii Yoshihashi kind of got forgotten about just a little bit because it's not part of the G1.
Mm-hmm.
But that Takeshita Yuya Uemura match is pretty special. So I don't know. That's a tough one.
You know what? Let's go. Let's give it to Takeshita. Let's give him a nice month here with wrestler of the month, match of the month against the Heat Storm, Yuya Uemura.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And for anybody that's listening, just a few weeks ago here on the network, I discussed that match with a friend of the show, Chris Things, on Wrestling Art with Chris Things. You can check that episode out. We talked quite a bit about the G1 and about the strength of that match. And I know the next week he had a episode with his friend Bradley where they discussed the ZSJ versus Gabe Kidd match, which is probably a strong contender for match of the month in August. So good shit there. Yeah, that's our wrestler and match of the month for July, all the way at the end of August.
Yeah, next week we'll come back with the August match of the month and wrestler of the month. As August closes out with one last show, Capital Collision. We will preview that right now. That's the only main show coming up in this coming week. So we'll preview that, and then there's a bunch of questions from last week and this week, and we got news. So I'm sure we'll still pack out the time here, even with this one U.S. show here So first, we got 2 pre-show matches. We got the Strong Survivor match. Matt Vandergriff, a year strong, going up against Alan Breeze, another New Japan Academy student.
Yeah, I've never seen Alan Breeze. I still haven't gotten around to watching any of the LA Academy Showcase shows. Maybe I should make that a pet project, along with some of the what's that Tamashi shit.
Tamashi, yeah, the Oceania Cup thing is like happening, right?
Bro, I don't know. I think they've had shows that have never aired, and at this point the fan base has gotten so accustomed to not seeing them, and then they go up so late, plus all the shit that kind of revolved around Fale and the reality of like the grift that they're running over there, that I can't, and unfortunately for a lot of the talent over there, because it's not their fault, that they got scumbags running the offshoot brand or whatever. But yeah, maybe I'll watch that shit eventually. Put that behind the paywall. But yeah, so I don't know anything about Alan Breeze whatsoever, but I do know this: Matt Vandergriff, the greatest Strong Survivor title holder of all time.
Yeah,
undefeated.
At what point does he like get to stop being a Strong Survivor and just be on the main card? He's undefeated for a year. He's been a Strong Survivor for a year. Like, what does this guy have to do to get on the main card?
I wish, we've had that discussion before, and I mean, it's probably a discussion worth having, but the reality is, it's like, is he gonna jump on the show and get jobbed out and then, not be on the show? Or, is he just not going to ruffle any feathers and keep doing the opening pre-show and just getting these W's? I'm undefeated in New Japan Pro Wrestling. I've got, 15 Strong Survivor title defenses under my belt. Like, it's crazy.
That's a great way to talk to promoters. Yeah, I'm undefeated in New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, you have to up your value on the indies. That's what this man is doing. Like, what's the alternative? He's gonna wrestle, I don't know, Tom Lawler and fucking job to him. He's gonna be cannon fodder for West Coast Wrecking Crew, or he can be the Strong Survivor and protect his spot and up his asking price on the indies. Like, this man knows what he's doing.
As seen on New Japan Pro Wrestling.
As seen on New Japan Professional Wrestling. Yeah. Shinihon.
Oh, man.
Who knows? Maybe it'll be good. I mean, Matt Vandergriff, I think he is fine from what I've seen so far. I haven't been like overly impressed, but there's always the same old talking point. Reminds me of Chase Owens a little bit, which isn't necessarily a great thing, but maybe he's unproblematic. Maybe he could take Chase's spot. I don't know.
Rainbow says, bring that fighting spirit to Shindies all over the West Coast.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the other pre-show match, we have Trish Adora and Viva Van taking on Nexus V, Hanako, and Mina Shirakawa from Stardom.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because Trish Adora and Viva Van feel like two of the staples at this point in time of what's sort of left of the strong women's division, I guess, now that Stephanie Vaquer has, gone off to to Orlando. So there really aren't that many like mainstay girls that are sort of like on these shows, and those are two of them. But Hanako and Mina Shirakawa, Mina has really upped her stock in the States with her AEW presentation and everything, plus just the marketability. So I kind of feel like it's an interesting one because it's good experience for all four women, and the match will probably be fine. They're not going to kill themselves on the pre-show or anything like that, but I feel like Mina and Hanako sort of have to go over, but I don't, I'm not the biggest Joshi expert. I maybe Hanako's there to be the pin eater so Trish Adora can get the win, but I could easily see Viva Van losing to Mina Shirakawa. So, I don't know.
Yeah, and obviously the main event is for the Strong Women's title with Mercedes and Momo. So I'm thinking that we could see an angle here where the winner, whoever gets the pin here, comes out and challenges the winner of that match later. So the biggest star right now out of those four is Mina, and she seems to be doing a Western tour right now. She was in the UK. She's now the Rev Pro British Undisputed Women's Champion, and she's doing more dates in AEW. So I don't know how long she's going to be doing stuff in the US and UK. And, you know, she missed the 5-star Grand Prix to be doing all these dates and stuff like that. So I'm wondering if there's another strong show coming where it'll be her versus the winner of the main event.
Well, that's the kind of weird conundrum with putting that title back on Mercedes, and I guess we'll get there. But to me, could she have a good title defense against any one of these women? And I don't know. I'm not that familiar with Hanako. Have we seen her before? You're probably more familiar with her than I am.
I feel like we've seen her on one of these shows before.
Okay. So, you know, I don't want to knock her, and I don't want to speculate too much on her ability one way or the other because I'm not that familiar. But I've seen Viva Van, I've seen Trish Adora, I've seen Mina Shirakawa, and I know that they're all good wrestlers and they could have good matches with Mercedes, but none of them really scream this is somebody that they would have pin her or beat her or even be at that marketable level that she was when Mercedes first came in and she was wrestling, you know, like Kairi Sane and stuff like that. And you sort of had like these bigger names for her to work with here in the States. And I guess you could always just line up challengers and just from the effect of having that name value of Mercedes on the show, that is just what it is. But I can't imagine she's going to lose to any of these women. To me, if I'm Tony Khan, then it's either got to be a top star from AEW or a big enough name from Stardom to kind of warrant a title change. And I don't think any of these girls are at that level, even though it'd probably be beneficial to the brand to build up your next person and kind of get the ball rolling with them. But I don't know if we're heading in that territory. I think the putting the title on Mercedes is like double-edged. It is a positive because she's going to, you know, still be an attraction and draw eyes, but it's sort of a little bit of an albatross at the same time because there's all the politics involved with it and you kind of know what the deal is. And I don't know. I've also got my doubts about where Sasha is in terms of her career after that match with Britt Baker on Sunday, you know?
Yeah, a lot of people have those similar thoughts. But yeah, it's going to be very hard. Yeah, booking this division with Mercedes as the champion, and you know who do you build a beater? Like it has to be another star. Like I doubt that they're going to like a Vila Van or a Trish Adora. Like maybe they'll defend. Maybe she'll defend against those two women, but they're not beating her. So
yeah, I Rambo said her back hurts from carrying Britt. I'm sure. I didn't see any carry job from anybody on that match. We'll talk about it, but I literally think that was fucking god awful dog shit, terrible. Like that was bad. Like I am shocked at how bad that match is to this day.
Well,
but yeah, I mean, I think it would have to be either a top Stardom girl or someone from AEW because there's no one big enough in Europe. There's no one big enough on the US Indies. There's no one big enough in Mexico. And that kind of exhausts your options at that point. I'm kind of going to call it now. Like, I won't be surprised if like this whole title run ends in some sort of fuckery where the title just gets vacated or dropped due to some contractual type shit. And like, she never actually drops it in the ring.
Or there's like some kind of 4-way, 6-way match or whatever where she doesn't get pinned.
That could happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if we had like another Stephanie Vakura type situation. Oh wait, Stephanie did drop it to her, didn't she, at Forbidden Door?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, that's that's a fun little pre-show. Nothing I don't think worth going out of your way to make sure you see, but it's fine. It'll be there.
Yeah. So moving on to the main card, show will open up with the 3-way number 1 contenders match for the NJPW Strong Openweight Tag Team titles. So Hiroshi Tanahashi and Tomohiro Ishii will team up to go against the grizzled young veterans of James Drake and Zach Gibson and the TMDK team of Bad Dude Tito and our good friend Robbie Eagles.
This is not a bad opener. I'm sure there will be some excitement there. On the one hand, you've had Ishii sort of on loan to AEW for the past, month and a half or so, teaming with Tanahashi, which is kind of a little bit surprising because those guys were working in a trio with Okada previously, but always have had bad history with one another and were begrudgingly put together. And I didn't expect for them to continue teaming in any real capacity. I know that Tanahashi is still trios champions currently with Toru Yano, who's a member of Chaos, and the whole thing with Chaos and Hantai is very nebulous at this point, but these shows are almost not even really strictly canon anyway. So I guess they're both there. They're both Japanese. They've partnered together before, so they're gonna do it. But we got Grizzled Young Veterans, and on the one hand, at first I was like, this is really cool, but now they're showing up in AEW, which is also fine, good for them. That's awesome, but it feels like we can't have nice things in New Japan because it's like Strong is just like a little stopping point for people that are on their way to wherever their ultimate destination is. So it's like we're probably not going to see Grizzly Young Vets in New Japan, and if we are, it's probably going to be relegated to like these Strong shows for the time being.
Yeah, I think we'd be very lucky to get a World Tag League appearance from them in the winter. Yeah, because
I don't think that's happening.
Yeah, because it seems like they're fast tracking them now in AEW with them kind of re-showing up, because they had one match on Collision a few months ago, and now they've kind of re-debuted and attacked FTR. So clearly, and they face off against Young Bucks. So clearly, they're going to be pushed in the title picture.
I mean, if you're a tag team and that's on the bucket list, I'm sure New Japan would be happy to have you. But it's like it's the winter tour. They're not necessarily in the biggest buildings. It's a really tight schedule. You get beat to fucking shit. You're working every night on every single card. Unless you really like need the learning experience or you're trying to add it, it to your resume for some reason, like if you're like a mark for your legacy, then maybe it would make sense. But I don't think Grizzly Young Vets are those types of dudes. I think that they're, and I'm not even saying that in a negative way. Like, I just think that they'll be in AEW, they'll be on TV, and, their tag division needs it. Their tag division's been kind of lacking for a little bit here, which is a little disappointing because at one point they had like literally the greatest tag team division in many years, and it's kind of gone downhill a little bit and kind of thinned out. But then you got TMDK, Bad Dude Tito and Robbie Eagles, that's an awesome team up. I don't think we've ever seen that combination of those two guys within the team.
No. Yeah, first time combo.
And if they did win, it would be kind of strange because Mikey Nichols and Shane Haste are also Team DK. So I'm just going to kind of, to use an advising term, I'm just going to take that one off the table right from the get-go. I don't think we're going to see that one. So I think it really just comes down to, are we seeing like Tanahashi and Ishii win this thing? Which that could easily happen because of the fact that they both work in the US and, they're big names, and that adds some marketability there. But I wouldn't be surprised if Grizzly Young Vets wins here.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards Grizzly Young Veterans. Obviously, now with that kind of AEW stamp on them and the Strong titles kind of being more US based, I think that's kind of I don't know if dream match is the right word, but TMDK, a top tag team for several years now, going up against Grizzly Young Vets, who have been a top team for a while too. So kind of two top tag teams facing off. You can do a big matchup with that.
Yeah, I mean, if it's marketed right and it's put in the right building, that could be a meaningful match. I don't know if they will have the foresight or the marketing machine behind them to do that, but it could really be a really strong. I don't think it'd be like a main eventer for a show, but like third from the top, put it on the marquee for a big show, and it's gonna be good. But I'm leaning. You're probably right. It could be Grizzly Young Vets, but I'm just gonna lean towards Tanahashi and Ishii just because the name on the card is Shinny Han.
Yeah, and if those guys win, I mean, it's an easy way to get them on the card on these US shows and them not have to work super hard. They can just do a tag match, and you can do them against Team DK. They do a nice little 3.5 tag match, and you get those guys on the card. They have a good match. Everybody's happy. So
the one thing though is these 3-ways tend to be pretty spastic. And don't get me wrong, there's going to be plenty of time for Tanahashi to sell down on the ground and lay outside the ring. But when he's in the ring, having to work these fast-paced spots with lots of memorization, like, bro, Ace doesn't look. Well, it doesn't need to be said, but he's just not Tanahashi right now. And I think some people would probably be like, oh, a 3-way, there's so many other bodies in the ring, that's going to make it easier for him to kind of be hidden. But it's like, yeah, that's somewhat true, but there's also so much like coordinated effort in these matches, and you really have to kind of hold your own, especially with the level of athleticism of everybody else in the match. You can't get by so much on just the old tricks. So it's going to be interesting.
yeah. The one thing I would say for Eagles and Tito, we have been seeing a little bit more kind of faction versus faction. We're having several LIJ versus LIJ matches in Japan. So could they kind of do the cute thing of, all right, let's have, interfaction warfare, kind of a specialty match for TMDK versus TMDK?
It'd be interesting for sure. Especially with, the ascension of the group right now with, Zach winning the G1, there might be something to that, but I personally don't see it, especially since like Robbie is here right now working in the States, but I don't know how long that's going to last. And it's like, if they do the match in Japan, then I could see that being more likely because Robbie's always there, but they never bring Tito to Japan, hardly ever. It's been a long time. And then if it's like in the States, how long is Robbie going to be here? Is he coming back? I think the, just kind of the, like working it all out and getting everybody in the same place at the same time later on months down the road it just doesn't make sense to me. I see that as being the least likely.
Yeah. So moving on to the next match, we got a 6-man tag here. We've got the Chaos team of our good friend Rocky Romero and Yoshihashi teaming up with Kevin Knight to take on the Bullet Club War Dogs team of Clark Connors, David Finlay, and Drilla Mononi. This is a preview for the upcoming IWGP Global title match between Finlay and Yoshihashi.
Should be a fun, fast-paced, 6-man tag with a lot of like Bullet Club, chicanery and cheating and everything like that. And babyface is trying to get their comeuppance, hot tags, everything like that. Kevin Knight, he's got a lot of history with Clark Connors and Drill Maloney going back to their time in the junior tag division with one another. And Rocky Romero's not exempt from that. But like you said, the real story of the match, it's going to revolve primarily around Yoshihashi and David Finlay and their ongoing feud for the global. I always want to call it the Intercontinental, and I'm like, what's the name of that the white strap?
It should be the Intercontinental.
It should be something, I don't know, not global, but I don't imagine, like in most scenarios for New Japan, when a match revolves around two guys like that, they're not usually factored into the finish unless it really means something. So it's probably going to be something like Clark Connors or Drill Maloney getting a pinfall over like Rocky Romero or Kevin Knight, and getting the win for Bullet Club here, I would assume.
Yeah, that's the more kind of Gato playbook theory. I could definitely see Rocky being the one to eat a pin there, unless they really want Yoshihashi to get another upset win over Finlay to kind of really drive home the fact that, all right, he could actually win this thing when they do have the match come Destruction.
Yeah, usually if one of those two guys picks a win up one over, and it's usually not over one another, again, it's usually going to be over one of the other guys who's the pin eater. There's a reason for it. They're trying to make them look stronger heading into the match. And maybe, who knows, maybe David Finlay sort of needs a little bit of rehab after, kind of eating 2 pinfalls back to back. And so I could even see him, hitting, what is it, the End of Days?
The cross strike.
Yeah. Who does the End of Days?
Baron Corbin.
Okay. I could see him hitting the End of Days. I could see him like hitting the cross strike on like Kevin Knight, picking up the 1, 2, 3. That's also a possibility.
Also, too, Connors and Drilla are the junior tag champs. So Kevin Knight could pick up a win on one of those guys to set up a Jet Setters versus
him and Kushida. Yeah, because we haven't seen them in Japan in quite a while. So maybe there's something to that. I don't know who Rocky is planning to tag with these days in Japan. Maybe there's something there. Maybe, maybe him and Kevin Knight just mash up because Rocky is the king of just, grabbing random junior tag partners and doing very well
right
with that partner. So who knows? Any one of those things could potentially be the case. Let me step out for 1 second and Jeremy, take us to the next match of the night, which is a rematch that we've just continually seen. And I think it's the feud that's never going to end.
Yeah, so this next matchup, the West Coast Wrecking Crew of Jarrell Nelson and Royce Isaacs against Dirty Work, Fred Rosser, and Tom Lawler. So yeah, this is the feud that will never end. It goes on and on, my friend. These guys have had, seems like several matches now, not only in New Japan, but I've seen random indies book this match as well. And I don't understand where we're going now. It seems like, this Rosser Lawler thing was also a big kind of fundamental feud for New Japan Strong during the weekly tapings, and obviously with the weekly TV going away and it turning into mainly just pay-per-views, this feud has kind of been hidden on undercards. They had a pre-show match, I think, last year, and now the whole them teaming together. And, I mean, West Coast Wrecking Crew beat these guys on the last New Japan Strong show that they wrestled. So I don't get where the end point of the story is and why these two teams need to just keep facing each other. I think that both these teams need to kind of move on. And, again, people will ask, why isn't Tom Lawler being used more in Japan, in Fred Rosser, a guy that they've been pushing, and he's one of the trainers in the academy, and why hasn't this guy gotten at least one tour in Japan? I don't know. And West Coast Wrecking Crew, I feel like we've been waiting forever for those guys to be a part of World Tag League. So yeah, I don't know what the end point here with these guys are, and if it's just there's New Japan Strong guys, and they don't really want to mix it up with the main New Japan talent. And every Strong show we're gonna get some kind of variation of Dirty Work versus West Coast Wrecking Crew. It seems like that's what's gonna happen. Even though I feel like at least West Coast Wrecking Crew, you would think at this point would eventually win the Strong Openweight Tag Team titles. Until they won last Strong pay-per-view, and they're not in the title match this time, and they're probably, I'll have to do some stats here, but they're probably now one of the most failing, challenging Strong Openweight Tag Team champions. So yeah, I don't know what the plan is for these four guys in this team and what you can do from here to really spice this rivalry up. I feel like maybe you have to do some kind of plunder match, some kind of losing team must disband, some kind of thing to make this have some real stakes to it, because them just wrestling over and over again with no change in the story, no kind of stakes, it's just kind of getting kind of stale.
I concur. I didn't hear all of that, but I felt it from the other room. And when I turned on the headphones, you're hitting the story points beat for beat, exactly what I'd be saying about this one. So I don't need to rehash all that, but I just don't get why it's happening again and what the outcome is supposed to be. Maybe they're going to build upon it if we're being optimistic, but I think they've a little bit outlived the entertainment portion of this feud. And if they are going to build something off of it, they kind of need the cooperation of creative in Japan. They need something, a little bit more oomph. And I don't think it's enough to just relegate this ongoing, never-ending feud to just the Strong brand. It needs to go somewhere, to something, to somebody. Do something with this shit.
Yeah, and it feels like it's not only just a Strong brand. They're kind of stuck in a universe of just the four of them. They don't interact with any other people. Like, it's mainly just those 4 guys just always wrestling each other in some form or fashion. It's like,
it's the Cody verse.
yeah, the filthy verse.
Filthy verse, yeah.
And I was saying that we probably have to check this, but I think that at this point, West Coast Wrecking Crew are probably the most failing, challenging, strong open weight tag challengers.
They've never. Did they win it? They've never won it.
No.
I mean, they've had numerous shots. I'm pretty sure it's them. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know
Which doesn't make sense. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't get it either. You know, we all thought that the titles were created for them.
I mean, at this point, we're back at the same point we're always at, where it's like, why do these titles exist anyways? They really should. But if they're going to, why wouldn't you put them on the cornerstone of the whole division? It makes no sense.
Yeah. Well, moving on to the next match, we have the G1 Climax 34 winner, Zack Sabre Jr. taking on LIJ's Teton.
You know, some of Zach's post G1 bookings in both the UK and here had made me a little nervous about his chances of actually winning the tournament, but that was all for naught. He did win. And, you know, his first singles match in New Japan post G1 win is against Teton. I guess there is a little bit of connectivity there because of the fact that Teton is, you know, a member of LIJ, although these days it's feeling more and more like he's a distant relative, more similar to like the way that, you know, they used to handle like El Terrible or Roosh, but maybe Teton's closer. He's like a cool cousin, you know?
Yeah.
Plus ZSJ just had the matches in Mexico. He had the match with Hechicero. So there's a little bit something there too, but him and Teton's an interesting one. On paper, it should be fantastic. Teton's one of the top workers and top guys in CMLL. Do we know where? Oh yeah, this is in DC. I was gonna say if this was like in LA, maybe this might have a really, really hot crowd behind it. It'll be interesting to see how people are receptive to it. I'm sure Zach, coming off his G1 win, is gonna be very over, and I don't imagine him losing, of course, unless something crazy happens here. But should be pretty interesting. And Teton can high fly, but he's, you know, a little underrated in the States when it comes to his technical prowess, and he's a fantastic technical worker. So
yeah, definitely bust out the Yave. There's a lot of cool, you know, wacky Yave submission holds. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a really fun match for Zach. It'll probably be a little bit more, you know, technical than people are expecting with Teton in there, but yeah, it should be a great match. Zach should get the win, and I'll see this is kind of building towards him versus Naito facing an LIJ member here, so I'm sure we'll get some kind of promo maybe about that as we head towards King of Pro Wrestling. So speaking of Tetsuya Naito, he's in the following matchup. Tetsuya Naito will be taking on TJP, first time ever singles match, leader of LIJ versus leader of the United Empire.
Capitan of the United Empire. It's a little different. But yeah, I think it's interesting that they've got both of these guys in preview matches against I would say kind of somewhat similar facsimiles to their counterparts, just juniors, right? Like Teton, member of LIJ, got the lucha libre style, not too dissimilar from like what Naito was at his prime. And then TJP's probably the most technically sound, you know, mat-based wrestler in the junior division, and in some ways a good, again, representation of Zack Sabre Jr. I do think it's interesting though how like you rarely see junior versus heavyweight in Japan, but I don't know. I feel like these strong shows are supposed to be like quote unquote tailored to the US, so they do things that they see on US shows, and they're like, weight classes don't matter there. They want the little guys versus the big guys. Let's give it to them. And I'm not even necessarily complaining about it, but it's just so funny how it's like it doesn't line up with like what New Japan is known for. Like it's this happens regularly on strong shows, and it's just funny.
Yeah. But obviously I expect Naito to get the win here over TJP. Should be a fine matchup, and you know, maybe we'll get some kind of post-match interaction with these two that will help build towards King of Pro Wrestling. So then following that, we will have the aforementioned NJPW Strong Openweight Tag Team titles on the line as the TMDK team of Mikey Nichols and Shane Hayes will take on the CMLL team of Hechicero and Virus.
The real question coming out of that match is, what will TJP do after he loses to world champion Naito? How can he continue on as the leader of United Empire after losing yet again to another top heavyweight in New Japan? What do we make of that? But yeah, TMDK versus Hechicero Virus. I love when they get the Lucha Libre tag teams on these shows. They're always really, really fun. And I'm such a big fan of that. Plus, Mikey Nichols and Shane Hayes, great tag team, but Mikey Nichols in specifically, or no, not, I'm sorry, Shane Hayes. Shane Hayes is like such a goofball and madman, and like getting him in there with Hechicero, I could just imagine like the over the top selling that he's going to be doing for those guys. So this one's going to be really fun. I would be shocked if, a CMLL tag team picked up the TMDK or the Strong Openweight tag team titles, but I don't know. Weirder stuff has happened,
Yeah, plus we're seeing a lot of foreigners make their way to Arena Mexico Friday night. They've been doing a lot of stuff there, so who knows? Maybe you could do a strong tag team title match there if these guys were to win. And there is, a little bit of heat here between the TMDK faction and Hechicero, with Hechicero's rivalry with Zack Sabre Jr. and just recently losing to Zack at the Rev Pro 12th anniversary show. So also he'll want some revenge there. So who knows? Maybe they might slip the titles.
And I'm not going to complain about having luchadors on these shows. I'm welcome to it, but I just always think it's kind of strange when it's like it makes a lot of sense when it's like Texas or like California and they have those guys on there because the commute and the region. And I think it's great that they're working in DC and probably exposing some more people to the style. Although I don't know how well the show's going to do on pay-per-view on New Japan World, but it is. I just always think it's like kind of interesting that they're choosing to have them on a show in this part of the country. Kind of like how like when MLW has like top luchadors in St. Pete, and I'm like, it's awesome. I'm here for it. I love going to the shows and seeing those guys, but I don't think half the crowd knows who the fuck they are, or like what, or like what the importance of like, you got Mystico, like in fucking St. Pete on a Friday night, and like half the crowd does not react. They don't know what the fuck they're seeing. Like it's crazy. And,
Sin Cara's here.
Yeah. But this will be fun. It'll be interesting, and I expect TMDK to retain.
Yeah, I think TMDK retaining is probably what's going to happen there. Keep running those guys on these U.S. shows. So then following that, we'll have a rematch from Windy City Riot as the former X Division champion Mustafa Ali will go one-on-one with the ticking time bomb and number one contender for the never openweight title, Hiromu Takahashi.
Yeah. We saw the match in Chicago. We were there live. A lot of people were really, really down on that match, especially with the interaction with Daryl and all of that. I personally thought the match was pretty good. I was disappointed that Hiromu lost to Ali that night. I was a little bewildered by it, and then even more bewildered when Ali was like in no way involved with Best of Super Juniors, or maybe we knew that going in. I can't recall at this point, but I liked the match for what it was. I also thought that the hard way blood that Mustafa Ali had in that match really kind of added a little bit to the drama down the stretch. But I don't know if I was clamoring for a rematch necessarily, but we're getting it, and it kind of came out of nowhere, but now it's happening. And I think some people think Ali is going to beat Hiromu, and a lot of people are, because Hiromu's on his way to the Never Strong title, or not strong, but the Never Openweight title, that they think that this could be like a goodbye and he's going to job. And I'm like, I don't think so. I think that this is Ali doing the favor back. I think that this is a business transaction, And the fact of the matter is Ali like is no longer with Impact. He already dropped his title there. He lost to the world champion. He jobbed on the way out. His undefeated streak's gone. So there's literally no reason for him to not lose to Hiromu. In fact, he should probably lose to Hiromu so Hiromu looks stronger going into his strong openweight title challenge. And so that maybe Ali can open the door for him to work further with New Japan, especially if he's not going back to WWE or going with AEW. Maybe New Japan could be a good spot for him. I don't know. Have there been any, because I haven't been paying attention, has there been any good like promo stuff? Because I know there was videos last time. I don't know if Daryl's involved again. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I really haven't seen any videos. There was only one thing that put a stipulation for this match. So Ali accepted the match on one condition. That is, if Ali is victorious, Hiromu would have to publicly acknowledge him as the best junior heavyweight wrestler in the world.
Oh, it's definitely not. He's definitely losing then.
Yeah.
There's no way they would do that.
Yeah, Rambones had a question here jokingly. He says, is it insane to think that Hiromu may lose to Mustafa Ali, declare Ali as the best junior heavyweight, and then graduate up to heavyweight after? I'd rather see that happen with one of the younger domestic talents in Japan, but that stipulation has me questioning the outcome.
Yeah, as it rightfully should. Like, even without the outcome, I feel like there's little to no chance that Ali would get 2 wins back-to-back over Hiromu in singles action. But yeah, he's definitely not winning. Hopefully maybe this match will be better than last time. Although, where are they? I know they're in DC. Do we know what building they're in? I don't think it's going to be like a large arena. I'm imagining.
No, I think it's that arena that they run when they do like the AEW tapings. Yeah, it's the Entertainment and Sports Arena in Washington D.C.
What the fuck is that?
I'm pretty sure that's the building where they did the first ever Dynamite.
Okay. I don't remember that at all. I'm gonna look on WrestleTix and maybe see if they have an update on this show. No, the last Capital Collision numbers they had are from 2022. So
yeah, it might be one of those weird things where they don't use Ticketmaster, and so it's hard to like get the seating map.
Well, you know, this might be a little bit relevant. So when they did the show back then, they were set up for a capacity of like 2,100, and they basically sold out. They did over 2 total tickets distributed, 2,074. So they were near a sellout when they did that 2 years ago. So that's one thing to just kind of keep in the back of your mind, because I don't know if we're going to get the actual tickets. Oh, wait, look here. This is as of August 7th for this year's Capital Collision, and they're set up for like 2,700, and they've distributed 1,200 tickets. So it's like almost half of what they did last time. A little over that.
Yeah, I'm looking at the ticket map right now. There's still plenty of seats left.
And that's interesting because of all the, we'll get to it, but you know, all of the talking points around the drawing ability of Sasha Banks or Mercedes Monè. And maybe some of that has kind of worn off at this point as well.
Yeah. So yeah, expect Hiromu to win. I think he definitely has to look straight. He's going up against Hanare. Like, he can't lose to Ali and then be believable to beat Hanare. So yeah, he has to win here.
Yep.
So semi-main event will be for the NJPW Strong Openweight title. Gabe Kidd will defend against DC's own Lio Rush.
On the one hand, I shouldn't complain that it's Lio Rush because it is the strong openweight title. And we've complained so many times about the lack of openweight defenses with openweight titles within New Japan. But I kind of don't buy Lio Rush as the challenger to Gabe Kidd. Plus, like, it's funny because Lio Rush was like gone, and then he was back, and then he was gone again, then he was Impact, then he was gone, now he's in AEW. It's like, where are we? Like, is he working with New Japan again? I don't know what the fuck's going on, but I'm sure the match will be good. Last time I saw him, wasn't he jobbing to Ali on the pre-show?
Yeah, he lost. Yeah, I think he lost that match, right? And then he had the whole Black Heart thing afterwards.
Yeah, where did that go? What was that leading to?
It led to him joining Top Flight.
Is he part of Top Flight?
Well, I mean, he's been teaming with them. He's not wearing the pilot gimmick that they wear now, but he's been teaming with them since he's been in AEW.
I thought what's his name? The dude that beat.
Who?
Do you know who I'm talking about?
No.
The dude, Action Andretti. I thought that he was part of it too.
He is, all 4 of them.
Oh, so they're stable now.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, so I don't know what Leo Rush did to get this title match. Maybe it's just based off of name value, drawing ability. I don't know. Being
born in Washington, D.C. or living there.
But it'll be interesting. I mean, I'm sure it'll be a good match. It's not, I got to tell you, Jeremy, this isn't like a bad show, but compared to some of the other, as we're going through it, there's some good names. There's some solid matches. Nothing screaming at me. Can't miss. Got to see this right now.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. You know, we had the whole declaration of quality, not quantity this year of these strong shows. And it started off on a good foot with some of those shows in the early part of the year. You know, Windy City Riot, that big Moxley Naito match, even Resurgence with the Mox Shooter title match. But now I feel like we're kind of backsliding a little bit back into kind of what these US shows were, which, I mean, it's fine, but they are charging extra cost on New Japan World, and they're trying to draw and still trying to do stuff here in the US. And like, it's like, you put on a card like this, it's like, what do you expect?
Yeah. Speaking of Moxley, man never came out during Wembley Stadium.
Moxley's been retconned. It's been Pac all along.
Yeah, Pac. I remember when Pac founded that group with Bryan Danielson and William Regal. You know,
I remember when Pac beat Chris Jericho for the AEW World Title.
Jon Moxley didn't come out for the Casino Gauntlet. He didn't come out and challenge anybody on the night. He didn't come out to celebrate with his best friend, you know, Bryan Danielson, for historic win. His wife was there, but where was John? I don't know. Was he in the UK? I don't know.
Probably home with the daughter. He's like, I'm not going. I'm staying here.
That man dropped the title to Naito, and you know, if I had on the list of bingo card stuff for 2024, the idea that after the feud with Naito, that it'd be Jon Moxley that was out of the business, you would have I would have been wrong. I would have thought it was Naito.
Yeah. Rambo says Moxley hung up a sign saying "Gone fishing."
Yeah, you always come back and work in Japan. You know.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of people kind of speculating what's happening with him, and like, I think that if he does end up leaving AEW anytime soon, like, I know people are like, oh, he's gonna go back to WWE and do a Shield thing, which obviously that's
it could happen.
That's on the table, but I also just seeing him just like doing random indies and death matches in Japan and just being happy doing that.
As much shit as he talked about the company on the way out, and it was all deserved and it was all probably true. You know, people always say like, this person is done, they'll never go back, blah, blah, blah. How many times did we see people that said that? Always go back. Like, it's business,
Right.
It's wrestling.
And plus also,
These guys
with Triple H being in charge, I mean, I'm pretty sure they had some kind of a decent relationship at some point, and I don't know.
I don't know. But Rambo Slam Pig says if the rumors are true, the things he hates about AEW are more prominent in WWE. And yeah, I'm sure that's probably true. But you just never know. I if I was a bet man, I would not bet that he went back to WWE. But you have to remember, these are professional liars. They cannot be trusted. Anything they say, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I could see him sign like a full-time deal with New Japan and just like working Japan and then doing GCW and, you know, doing with the Sami Callihan promotion.
Fuck it. This man's going to go work Big Japan. He's going to go work GLEAT. That's the type of shit he's going to do.
Yeah. So
death matches and shoot matches.
Yeah.
I'm going to go work the Zona 20. What is that? Zona
23 or whatever.
Yeah. Is that still run? He's going to go work in the junkyard.
But yeah, I'm expecting Gabe Kidd to retain here.
Yep.
Yeah.
I already said that. So yes, I agree.
All right, well, then I'll take us to the main event for the NJPW Strong Women's title. Mercedes Monè will defend against Momo Watanabe.
I've heard the name Momo for many years. I've seen her a handful of times. I assume that given the two talents involved, that a classic match is probably on the table. But, Jeremy, I got to tell you, granted, I have not been watching AEW prominently like the way I was in the past, but I have tuned in for some of Mercedes stuff, and I've been like not impressed, and I would say like actively unimpressed. Like, and yeah, like the promos aren't great, but she was always a bad promo. But I think she's like, without having someone to actually, I don't know. They signed that writer who's supposed to be like her person that writes for her.
Pepperman.
Yeah, and that hasn't really translated for me. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something, but from all the segments I've seen on TV, they have been pretty much, I would say, actively bad. She still gives off like star aura, but there is a sense of, just my opinion, Zigglerism, where it's like you've been given an opportunity to expand your and broaden your horizons, and you're still doing the exact same shtick that you were doing in 2013 and 2014 when you were in NXT. Like nothing really has changed at all, and then the wrestling, I mean, you can't take away her legacy. At the end of the day, Mercedes Monè, just go look at Cage Match, just go look at the records, the most accomplished female North American wrestler in history, and she's had classics. But since she's been gone from WWE, she has had some really great matches, but most of those really great matches have been with girls that you knew she was going to have really great matches with. But when she's been in there, some of this might just be the limitations of TV or even just the greenness of some of the talent in AEW. But I've sort of expected her to kind of carry some of these girls to higher level work, and it really hasn't happened. And there've been kind of like a lot of botchiness and inconsistencies. That's not to say she hasn't had some very good matches along the way. She has, but I'm feeling like we're seeing the slow decline of Sasha Banks. And the thing that also leads me to kind of feel that way is because she's not alone. Bailey's not Bailey anymore. Charlotte's not Charlotte anymore. And Becky might be out, and she's kind of really, she's been very hit and miss for several years as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if at this point in time, like Mercedes kind of, her in-ring work is starting to deteriorate the same way those girls are. Plus, she's not getting the kind of reps that she used to get, when she was in WWE. Now we've seen her work with Joshi women, and when she does, the ceiling is a lot higher. So maybe there's reason to think like, oh, she's in there with accomplished veteran Momo Watanabe. The match might be really great. I'm sure a lot of the people that are buying tickets are there to see Mercedes. I also think it's funny how like there were these, claims of like the most rabid fan base in wrestling, and that hasn't really translated since she's come back to like extraordinarily high like TV ratings or reactions, aside from like the one house in Boston and some of the houses that she did in New Japan a year or two ago. That stuff's kind of gone. And this house that's here, it's half of what it was 2 years ago. And that's also like further evidence. Like people are not clamoring to see this match or to even see Mercedes Monè. Maybe it's because she's accessible once again on television, but I'm a little down on her, to be honest with you. And then that match with Britt, I'll just say this. People were telling me that was like the most highly anticipated match of the night and was going to have like the hottest reactions and everything. They should have put the Mariah and the Toni Storm match in their spot and had them like be second on the card. I know that Mercedes and Britt had to follow a fantastic match from Ospreay and MJF, and that was definitely tough. But like, I thought that match was going to open with DMD CEO. Never happened. The match never got into gear. There was so many botches, and it wasn't just Britt. It was Mercedes too. And I know she's done WrestleManias, but I don't know if it's the gravity of the moment working on a stage that big with opponent that might not be on the same level as her. But I've seen Hikaru Shida, and I've seen who else? Thunder Rosa and Chris Statlander all carry Britt Baker to better than average to great matches. I was kind of surprised that Sasha wasn't able to do that with her that night, and it's making me I'm a little down on the brand and on the wrestler right now.
Yeah, and I'm also wondering too, like how much of like the ankle injury might come into play of just kind of throwing her off as well, because there's rumors
I wondered about that too,
that she wasn't fully healed yet coming back into the Willow match in May, but I think she's had her moments. Like the Willow match in May was pretty good. She wrestled Stephanie McCurr, Forbidden Door. That was really good. And then she wrestled Shida on TV a couple weeks ago, and that was also a really good match. So, but again, those are all very good workers that she's in there with, and people could help her out as she's trying to get back to where she was at. But yeah, the Britt match was, I don't know what. Part of it too was just like having Britt sell for like 90% of the match. Like Mercedes was just killing her.
Mercedes was doing power moves, and she's little, and I was like, this makes no sense. The layout of the match was fucking weird.
Yeah, I don't get the layout, and match totally fell flat. And it did have the better build of the two women's matches. I mean, the Mariah thing, the turn was a super hot turn, but then it kind of started kind of cooling off after the turn, and then Britt and Mercedes, like the TV every week was really good. The go home angle was really good, and this was it had the better build. It should have had the better crowd reaction. It should have been the better match, and it just wasn't.
Well, it's interesting here too, because like we're getting her and Momo, and like Pearl fans are diehard like Momo Watanabe fans, and very big on her. Almost no build here, it's just kind of like a showcase match. It's just sort of happening, I mean, looking at the card, I don't see any reason that this couldn't or shouldn't be the match of the night, given its slotting and the amount of time that they're going to be given and everything like that. So it still might be phenomenal. I'm not like down on it that way, but I don't know, man. I'm a little down on Mercedes. I'm wondering if, and it could, like you said, it could be the ankle, could be ring rust, could be a confidence thing. We've seen people leave, WWE and kind of like not amount to what they thought they were going to be on the outside, and it could be like a confidence thing. So I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see how things. This is probably a good litmus test to see where she's at this point in time, honestly.
Yeah, and Momo, she was one of my favorites in Stardom when I first kind of got into the product in 2019, and a lot's changed since then. She's turned heel.
She went heel, right?
Yeah, she joined Oedo Tai, which is now a new group called Hate. She's a part of, so still heel, and
Hate.
So yeah, I mean, she's still very good, but I haven't really been watching as much as I did back then. But the few times I have seen her, it just has not hit the same. It's kind of evilism or show. What's happened with like Show and Ren Narita, where they have turned heel. They're part of this group that cheats all the time, and so she similar thing. I think she does a wrench sometimes too, and she cheats a lot, and so just a lot of shenanigans there.
Are we getting some of that here?
Maybe.
Oh boy. Yeah, I'm not looking to have female House of Torture matches, on the top of my New Japan pay-per-view. And that's another thing I guess we should talk about before we move on from this is another New Japan pay-per-view on New Japan World. I don't know what the cost of this is just yet, but I'm like, I'm looking at $20. So is this a $20 worthy card? The thing is, they used to play the replay, so it used to be like, should I pay for it, or is it worth the wait? And if there was a replay, I'd say maybe wait for the replay. But these days those are few and far between. So I would say for me personally, if we weren't doing the show, I probably wouldn't pay the $20 for
it. Rambo says, if only there was a way to watch pro wrestling for free.
Oh, man. But yeah, I don't have any other further thoughts. I think that that is about as in-depth coverage you're probably going to get out there on Capital Collision for this. The only thing I'm wondering is, like, where do we go from here? I don't see Mercedes losing. We've already kind of talked about the possibilities. Like, is she just going to hold this title like sort of indefinitely? I know the title was built for her, but I don't know. I don't know what the plan is. She's going to win the belt and beat everybody. She's living out the Bob Holly playbook, I guess. But yeah, I think one of the Stardom girls are gonna get the pin in the opening, the pre-show, and come out and challenge her post-match. And then what? Then they're gonna lose, and then what? Like, what are we building to? Like, where's the money? You know what I mean? Yeah. Maybe they bring Britt back, have her work one of these strong shows. We can do that. Let's jump into the news. So this past week was the Rev Pro 12-year anniversary show. Jeremy, you were at the 11th anniversary show last year when you were in Wembley. So they ran the same building. I believe it was the Copper Box. Yeah. On the pre-show, there was an 8-man tag team match. Joshua James, Shaw Samuels, and Youngblood, Oscar Luebe, and Yuto Nakashima. They defeated Dave Francisco, Golden Boy Santos, and Greedy Souls, the team of Brandon White and Danny Jones. The Rev Pro British Undisputed Cruiserweight title 6-way match. They had a scramble where Will Craven defeated Neon, Cameron Kai, Dante Martin, and El Phantasmo, as well as Leon Slater. Tomohiro Ishii defeated JJ Gale, singles action. Gabe Kidd defeated Donovan Dijak of WWE fame. Zack Sabre Jr. defeated Hechicero, 22 minutes and 51 seconds. And there was a comment here. I wanted to bring the G1 trophy. Oh, this was from Zack Sabre Jr. He said, I wanted to bring the G1 trophy with me here for you tonight, but the damn thing was too big to fit in my luggage. Sabre joked. But I'll go one better. October 20th at Royal Quest in Crystal Palace, I'll bring the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Sabre concluded his promise for King of Pro Wrestling October 14th with the bold, "It's coming home." Yeah, so Zach really Zach's been on point with all his claims this year, and so he's making the bold claim that he's going to come into Royal Quest as the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, and I think he is. The bolder the claim, the more hesitant I am to believe it, because oftentimes, you know what I've said, Gato likes to book tragedies, so you just never know. I don't know. That's making me a little cautious there. Yesterday was All In from Wembley, and there was some New Japan interaction there as well. Tomohiro Ishii and Willow Nightingale defeated the team of Chris Statlander, Stokely Hathaway on the pre-show. AEW World Title #1 contender Casino Gauntlet match. The competitors were Christian Cage as he defeated Adam Page, Jeff Jarrett, Kazuchika Okada, Kyle O'Reilly, Luchasaurus, Mark Briscoe, Nigel McGuinness, Orange Cassidy, Ricochet, Roderick Strong, and Zack Sabre Jr. And that was pretty awesome to see Zack Sabre Jr. there in Wembley post G1 win. Made me a little nervous. Every time we see one of these guys that's a big star go work for Tony Khan, it's not within short order they go work for him permanently. We had some questions here. Death Triangle 720 says, after watching the interaction between Okada and ZSJ in the Gauntlet, could it be a coincidence or a teaser for January 5th? Jeremy, I got to tell you, I felt like I was watching Hogan and Warrior in the Royal Rumble 1990 in that moment. And I said, I'm a smart man. I know what I'm talking about. People said I didn't know what I was talking about. Bro, as soon as they faced off, I'm like, this man Josh, this man's smart. Ahead. Oh man. Man, I'm not always right, but when I'm right, I hit big. And this is one where I think I'm hitting big, and it's pissing off all the right levels of fan, the diehard New Japan fans that want to keep the Tokyo Dome main event pure, the people that are butthurt about Okada taking his millions, the people that are upset about the way Tony Khan's using Okada, and all of that is this perfect storm of, you just got to read the tea leaves. Where are we going to get 30,000 people in the dome from? You know, We got a show to sell. Rambone says, I did think back to the comment when they faced off. Yeah. So I felt like it was Warrior Hogan moment, Rock Austin. Take her HBK. That's what we were seeing there. Scaleburger Bun says ZSJ getting poached.
Maybe.
He has gone on record before and said that he is a socialist and he is an artist and he has no need to make more money in the big leagues. But you know what? He's a carny and he's a professional wrestler, and all professional wrestlers are professional liars. So you can't fully trust everything they say. I'm hoping he never leaves, but
yeah, I mean, like we said, it's kind of been the playbook of, get these guys on Wembley, get them on AEW TV, and get them signed up. But I know Tony Khan's a big fan of Zack Sabre Jr., and so maybe he can push the offer and try really hard to get him to come over. But yeah, I'm hoping that's not the case.
They signed Okada and they're like, fuck, he doesn't speak English. We don't know what to do. But Zack, he speaks English. He speaks English real good. Comment from Barry says, with Nigel McGuinness back wrestling in AEW in some capacity, does this increase the odds of TK going after ZSJ? If the past is anything to go by, the fact that he keeps using Ishii and ZSJ could be a sign, like it was with Jay and Will. I know Zach was in the UK anyways, but so was ELP, and he wasn't there. Any opinions?
Yeah, I don't think the Nigel thing really links to Zach at all, but I will say it was awesome to see Nigel. I popped huge as a
bro. I freaked out. That was like my highlight of the night.
Yeah, dude, as an ROH head in the early 2000s, and the great stuff with Nigel and Brian, and dude, I was a huge Nigel fan. I loved him when he went to TNA as Desmond Wolf. I really wanted him to win the title. I loved the Kurt Angle series, and so yeah, I popped when he came out.
I was like, Tower of London.
Yeah, bro. So I was like, the rebound lariat. Yeah, dude, it was awesome.
It was really cool
seeing Nigel. I mean, this whole gauntlet match was great with how they laid it out, and yeah, having the Nigel surprise, the Ricochet debut was really good laid out. But I don't think the Nigel comeback has anything to do with Zach. I think TK just loves wrestling and loves good wrestlers, and is a big fan of Zach, and would love to have him as a part of AEW. And as far as ELP, I think TK likes ELP, but it's like, how many of guys are you going to kind of shoehorn into the main card? It's not on your own roster.
Should have been more.
So yeah.
AEW TBS title match. Mercedes Monè defeated Britt Baker 17 minutes and 19 seconds. That felt like 47 minutes and 19 seconds. That was crazy. And that's going to do it for the New Japan adjacent news there. There was an announcement. AEW New Japan Forbidden Door 2025 will be in London. The arena is to be announced. Death Triangle 720 says, with FD3 being moved to August, should New Japan move their Dominion show back a week to give Best of the Super Juniors some breathing room?
No, I don't think that Forbidden Door should really determine what New Japan does in Japan. Like,
I agree.
First priorities first, like making money in Japan. The New Japan schedule is all set as always, so I don't think there needs to be any difference.
Agreed. Dragon Gate's August 24th event in Kobe was headlined by Great-O-Khan and Ben K versus Bushi and Shun Skywalker. On the event, Shingo asked Yamato to be the third man for his upcoming anniversary show. I want to BB Hawk. We got Yamato. That's fair. A special kickoff match has been added to September 9th's Road to Destruction card in Korakuen Hall. The match will be presented in collaboration with Family Stage show Sentai Daishikaku, the show based on the anime of the same name, Go-Go Loser Rangers in English. You sure it's not Go-Go Power Rangers? Anyways,
that's straight from the New Japan's website. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure they. I don't think there's a show called Go-Go Loser Rangers. Including El Desperado in a feature role. Yuji Nagata, Ryosuke Taguchi will be teaming off in the kickoff opposite a tandem from the show's Mysterious Army, a pair of wrestlers known only as Fighter Y and Fighter N. So that should be fun. That's some, it's sort of like some Tiger Mask W or some My Dad is a Heel Wrestler goodness there. Some non kayfabe type shit. Mm-hmm. Youngblood won their first tag team title as the Pro Wrestling Holland tag team titles were won by Youngblood, Asuka Luebe, and Yuto Nakashima. They defeated the team of V, Amse, and Koalithi Catch, the team of Daniel Akandele and Noah Hookah. I don't know. I can't pronounce those names. But PWH Live, Hall 25, Alkmaar. They won the titles, and they are regional tag team champions. And that is going to do it for the news. And we've got a lot of questions here. Are we at all going to talk about, isn't there a anniversary show tomorrow?
Anniversary show tomorrow for what? New Japan?
Yeah.
No, as far as I know, the Capital Collision is the only thing coming up. But
what about Shingo's anniversary show?
That's in September.
Oh, I thought it was August.
Let me just double check here. Let's see. Yeah,
August 27th.
Shingo's 20th debut, Saturday, September 7th.
Oh, my bad. Okay, it is on. I was looking at New Japan World, and it is the August 27th, but it's an anniversary celebration. It's not the actual show, I'm assuming, right?
Right. They did a fan poll asking, like, what are your favorite Shingo matches? I think they did, like, a compilation of, like, the top Shingo matches that will be airing.
Okay. See, that confused me. I was gearing up. I thought tomorrow I was going to have to watch an anniversary show for Shingo. I was like, all right, here we go. You know?
No. So first there's a Destruction show on September 6th, and then Shingo's anniversary September 7th.
This one you can't fault me for. It's on the website. August 27th, Shingo anniversary celebration. To me, that sounds like an anniversary card.
Yeah. They should have worded that a little bit differently, but yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's jump in those questions.
Yep. So got a lot of questions from last week, questions from this week, so I'll run through all these right now. So first from at Will Pro Wrestling In says, in your opinion, do you think New Japan has any big matches outside of Hiromu versus Naito for the Dome? Everyone has practically fought one another.
When you mean, do they have matches that are marketable that they could do? Maybe. Do they have protected matches that are like first time ever that are dome worthy? Like probably not. The two biggest junior stars are Hiromu and Despy, and they've had quite a few like heavyweight matches themselves. But if you were going to like translate someone from that division that could potentially be on the level to headline, it'd be those two guys. And then, I think almost everybody in the heavyweight division has fought one another, especially considering this past year's G1. It really just depends on what your opinion is when it comes to the Reiwa generation guys. And I'm not even calling them Musketeers anymore because I don't feel like we got Musketeers. We have a generation of Reiwa talent. Whether or not you think there is a combination of any of those guys that could potentially headline the Tokyo Dome. And I'm using that term loosely here. I don't even mean like main event. I mean like top three, Mm-hmm. And maybe there is, but I do feel like Naito Hiromu is a match that we're building to just based on that tag match they did. The fact that Hiromu is going up to never Openweight. They're doing the match for Shingo's anniversary where they're on the same team, but they're doing a lot of interfactional LIJ type stuff. And I just feel like that's where they're going.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense. And again, it's at Saturday, you want to draw a lot of people. And I think it also goes back to your whole like Zach Okada theory and what they're doing with Zach. Like, is Zach going to be the CM Punk and Hiromu and Naito is the real match? I could see that at least. Or, they do the whole thing what they do where it's like, there's say the quote unquote Japanese main event and then there's your Westerner main event. So is Hiromu Naito going to be your Japanese main event and then Zach Okada going to be your Western main event?
Well, let's say Naito retains against Zach and he ends up going into the Dome as the headliner. They could do him and Zach in a rematch. There's a way we could get there, and that might be worthy. You could do any combination of outsider from AEW with him. And there's quite a few that would probably be, capable of headlining, whether that's, and I'm just throwing names out here, Kenny Omega, Danielson, Okada. It could be a domestic Ospreay, MJF. It could be any level of domestic or outside, like foreigner talent. But within New Japan, once you get past Zach, maybe Shingo. Like Shingo's got a history there, so maybe Shingo. Maybe one of the Reiwa guys. You're probably looking at Tsuji, I suppose. It's kind of slim at that point, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's still.
I think Hiromu makes sense.
Yeah, Hiromu makes a lot of sense, and yeah, they're definitely still in that rebuilding period, and still trying to get the Reiwa guys up and running. Also, there's still guys on excursion. You know, a lot of people are really interested in what's going to happen with Oiwa. So he's a guy that can come back and make some waves. But yeah, they really have to establish those guys and try to create the new money feud and new money matches from those guys. Next question from Discord Daddy. Thoughts on Tanahashi's presidency so far?
I think a lot of the things that he said during his 10-point summary of issues that need to be addressed, I don't know if I would say they perfectly addressed all those, and I don't know if they have eradicated those issues permanently, but so far, since that point, things have seemed to take a positive turn. Some of the early portion of his presidency, I was a little less than enthused, especially with some of the lackluster booking decisions in the early portion of this year and the utilization of part-time foreign outside talent, especially the non-AEW ones, like the ex-WWE guys that getting title wins and stuff. That was kind of perplexing. The Jon Moxley title reign was less than what it probably could or should have been. There's probably a lot of reasons for that. But at this point in time, I'm more optimistic than I was coming out of the G1 than I was prior to, say, Dominion.
Yeah, very optimistic about how G1 went and post G1. It does seem like there has been some kind of swing in the booking. We abandoned the Riddle stuff, the Nemeth stuff, and Moxley as champion. So it's like there does seem to be like there's some kind of switch in philosophy. And again, maybe like I kind of mentioned earlier, like maybe Tanahashi was getting settled in the office the first half of the year. Like now he's actually making changes.
Kikuchi's back. There's that too.
Yeah. So
I don't think that's necessarily a coincidence.
Yeah. Next question here from Les Commission 7252. Back in the best of Super Juniors in May, TJP went from a losing streak to a winning streak, but it didn't feel special. For Ocon, he went the same route, but this one felt special, probably because people didn't quite think he was going to make it this far into the tournament, with him holding the joke belt and the way he's been booked and been the Bray Wyatt of New Japan. Did his feel special and made him somewhat feel like a leader of UE or somewhat the top guy in charge of the faction currently?
Could be. I was more impressed personally with his losing efforts in the earlier portion of the G1 than his winning efforts later on. But I could see why people who are fans of his are behind the push, and probably the winning streak, him beating the world champion, probably has something to do with that too. So I could see why people are high on it. But I've always kind of thought Ocon could potentially be the leader of United Empire.
Yeah, I mean, he's always been like the Japanese mouthpiece, so it does make sense that he could be the leader. And yeah, I think there's a little bit more juice to his winning streak over TJP because Ocon's a little bit more believable. Like it was kind of hard. Well, it's in Super Juniors, I guess you could believe TJP winning, but there's a story, the whole way that they laid it out in the story, and he beat a heavyweight going into the tournament. So you would think that maybe he would have started with a winning streak and then tapered off. So the whole setup for the TJP thing was kind of weird. And so I think they built it perfectly for Ocon. Next question, he says, from the words of the Hulkster himself, will the IWGP Heavyweight Championship be more important than the Toy WWF Championship?
I don't know what that means. I don't know. I personally don't feel right now that that's the case. I don't know if I'd say I'm like super high on WWF's title necessarily. I mean, there's a lot of things you could criticize about it, but there's a lot of things you could criticize about New Japan's top title since day one, since the inauguration of that belt. And I don't think it's ever really gained a semblance of the prestige that the IWGP heavyweight title had. So
yeah, they screwed up the lineage and the prestige, and yeah.
But we're supposed to pretend like these are two totally different things. They have nothing to do with one another. They're not the same thing.
Yeah.
Just like I read on Twitter, we're supposed to pretend like all the other heavyweight title or all the other heavyweight tournaments that occurred in New Japan prior to 1991 have nothing to do with the G1. Even though they were all round robin tournaments. They're all heavyweight round robin tournaments, and the winner either typically was the champion or got a shot at the title, but has nothing to do with it. They're just not related in any way whatsoever.
So Dark Soldier says, now that a full year has passed, I can calmly ask, what was the point in having Hikuleo get more points than the Musketeers and Kiyomiya last year and having him in the playoffs? Like, why?
I think they were trying to keep him and make him a potential star, and it didn't work.
Yeah, they flopped on both ends there. So the question is, is Yo still a hoe?
Ding, ding, ding.
Yes. Navith says, Satnam Singh won a title in AAA. Is this his Naito in Mexico phase?
I don't know. It's AAA. They're a fucking mess of a promotion. I don't even know.
Yeah, that Triple Mania, seeing some of the results, like Riddle's a cruiserweight champion now, and like JBL was out there with Ziggler, and yeah, it was a hot mess.
The production issues are fucking crazy.
Yeah, I heard that apparently the show was supposed to be pay-per-view, but that they never switched the pay-per-view feed on, so you could have watched it for free had you like tuned in on their YouTube or whatever. But there were people.
That was like the first one, but then they did another one and nobody paid for it. And then because nobody paid for it, there was no way for anybody that wanted to watch it in an unpaid capacity to watch it, because literally no one no one could rip it because no one was willing to pay for it because of how bad the previous one was. And then AAA put it up for free on their YouTube, but then when you go to watch it, to watch the free version, what they did was they literally screen captured the fight version of it with their cursor on the screen. So when you're watching it, it's like really blurry, and it's like, and the sound is really bad, and you're trying to like move the cursor off, but you realize like it's not our cursor, it's their cursor. This is the number 2 promotion in Mexico. Going back to the 90s, like this is one of the largest producers of lucha libre.
That's crazy.
It's a shit show.
Yeah. Hawaiian Punch BV says, Olympians Jeff Cobb and Tavion Heights had good G1 and N1 tournaments. Tokyo Sports reported that New Japan has expressed interest in 2020 judo gold medalist Aaron Wolf and 2024 javelin gold medalist Hikaru Kitaguchi. Nagata invited 2024 Greco-Roman gold medalist Naoya Kusaka and Greco-Roman Olympian Kiyotaro Sogabi to the G1 finals. Were there any Olympians that you've seen that you would be interested in seeing wrestle for NJPW or Stardom?
I don't watch the fake shit.
Yeah, I did not watch 1 second of the Olympics. I saw a lot of memes, saw a lot of videos.
Ray Gun.
Yeah, I saw Ray Gun. Saw videos and memes.
She's a worker, bro.
Yeah. Let's bring Ray Gun to the Dome, do a special entrance for somebody.
No, I want her to work. She's a fucking worker. I could see her Mercedes tearing it up in the Dome.
A dance off. Mercedes doing the Money dance. Ray Gun doing her dance.
Flopping on the ground like a fucking fish stick.
Hawaiian Punch also asks, thoughts on DDP versus Adesanya from this past weekend? Are you surprised that Duplessis is undefeated in the UFC with such an ugly style?
No, he hits hard, and he has a lot of cardio and a lot of offensive output, and he doesn't stop coming forward, and he overwhelms guys. And that style, that swarming style, has a very short shelf life, and he will burn out in the near future. It's inevitable. It's just history. Like, those guys don't last very long. But I'm not surprised he's having the success he's had. I had friends reaching out to me that weekend and asking me my opinion who was going to win, and I was like, I think if it's a stoppage, it'll be DDP. And if it goes to full length, probably Adesanya. And they were kind of surprised by that. And I was taking Adesanya, but I was like, I'm like 50-50 on it. I wouldn't put any money on the fight, honestly, because you just don't know. And Adesanya fought a great fight, but his footwork, for one thing, was very off. And going backwards, he had a lot of trouble against Duplessis, and he was getting hurt. Every time Duplessis hit him, he was getting hurt bad. And he fucking pointed at the ground. He tried to do the, who was that? Poirier. I can't remember who fucking did that. I think it was Poirier, but, or maybe it was Gaethje. I don't remember. But, yeah, bro, he got dropped and choked out. It's fucking crazy.
Damn, is he cooked?
Yeah. That's the thing. People in modern sports, UFC fans are so quick to, it's double-edged, because they're quick to write somebody off, but they're also quick to proclaim whoever it is that's at top at that point in time is the best ever, without any real historical context to that. And bro, I lived through Anderson Silva, and I've never seen any kind of fast twitch reactive style fighter who was stand up that had the types of wins, the level of wins, the longevity of success, and the slow decline that Anderson Silva had. I mean, he was on top for such a lengthy amount of time, and Adesanya was fantastic. But those types of guys who have that many fights under their belt, and not just MMA fights, like this is a guy who's done boxing and lengthy kickboxing. Once those fast twitch fibers and those reactions start to go, which is the bread and butter of what makes them exceptional, then they start to lose. And so when I say he's cooked, I don't mean like, can Adesanya still fight? He can still fight, and he'll still beat a majority of guys, but he's not special the way he was before. And I don't think he has been. I mean, those fights with Poirier, or not Poirier, with Poatan, those took a lot out of him. Like that was the last grasp at greatness for him, and I think he's done after that. And he got beat up by Strickland. Now he got beat up by Duplessis, and yeah. And we never saw that sort of shit happen to Anderson Silva at this stage of his career at that point in time. Like it was a lot further down the road. So yeah, I mean, Izzy's great, but yeah, I think as a tip top pound for pound top 5 guy, I think he's done. I think he'll always be in the, as long as he wants to stick around, I think he'll be in the rotation, and who knows, maybe he'll be champion again, but he's not the same guy anymore.
Next question here from New Japan Mark 95 says, good evening, fellas. Do you guys think had Will Ospreay stayed with New Japan, then he would have won this year's G1 instead? Or do you think it was always the plan for CSJ to win the G1?
I mean, it's those types of questions you just don't know, because you don't know. It's hard to speculate on things that just didn't happen. You know what I mean? But
right. Unless we get Gato's notebook, we're not going to know.
Right. I don't know what they were planning for the G1, going back. Do I think that all those guys leaving at the same time, like, threw things into a tailspin? I'm sure it did. Do I think that there's a good possibility that had Ospreay re-signed with the company that he could have had whatever he wanted? Yep. But it didn't work out that way. So
yeah. Def Triangle 720 says, did Noah just fumble Oiwa in the N1?
I watched the fake shit.
Noah. Yeah, I have.
I forgot about that.
I have not watched any of the N1. I've seen the clips of Oiwa. I know people love the Kiyomiya match, but I haven't watched any of it. I knew that I think that match was a draw, and then I think he was one of the block leaders for a while, but I don't know what happened that got him knocked out. So, yeah, can't really comment. Copper Squire says, how would you book the junior championship from now until Wrestle Kingdom? Would you have Doki hold on to it? If so, who is the biggest possible opponent for him at the Dome? Who are some potential challengers along the way beyond Taiji?
Yeah, he's got the Taiji Ishimori match. He's already beaten Hiromu this year. He's already beaten Desperado. Those are the big three. So if he beats Taiji, he might lose to Taiji Ishimori. If he beats Taiji Ishimori, then at that point, there's not that many more title defense opportunities. I wouldn't be surprised if ultimately we find ourselves heading into some sort of multi-man junior scramble for the Dome, just because there really aren't any major credible challengers. I mean, would I like to see him in somebody like, say, Robbie Eagles? Sure. I'm down for that. And I think that there's space for a match like that on the Dome, given the fact that it is the junior title and it doesn't need to be a tip-top marquee match. But just knowing Gato and everything, with the fact that Doki's not a strictly super proven draw in that regard, and he's not perceived still to this point as the guy at that weight, they'll probably just surround him with like 2 or 3 other juniors and do a scramble.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking more likely we'll probably get some kind of like 4-way like we've seen in several years past. We've seen Hiromu be stuck in 4-ways in the past, and so I could easily see them doing Doki against 3 other top guys, 3 other upper mid card guys, and you do that. If they want to do a singles, I mean, you could do a Desperado rematch, because I feel like the New Japan Soul match was kind of a sudden, kind of quick loss, and you could have Desperado kind of come back.
That's a good point. And you got to wonder what Desperado's going to be doing for the Dome and whether it's something meaningful or not. And it looks like Hiromu's probably going to be busy. So, yeah, you could do that. There's also the AEW factor, and they're not lacking for, big names that are in that weight class, group. So,
yeah. Doki versus Darby. Let's go.
I would love that. Bro, Darby got his ass handed to him.
Yeah.
They're telling me this dude's about to be world champion. The Scapegoat mopped him, bro.
House of Torture on top.
Yeah. Yeah, why didn't you put that in the notes? House of Torture, bro.
Death Triangle 720. Do you think New Japan should reduce the number of U.S. shows in the second half of the year? I think last year showed us that New Japan should focus on the Japan shows with only 4 months to build it, less top stars to insert into a immediate match.
Whatever's going to be best for their pocketbooks. At the end of the day, like the U.S. Experiment is going to be up and down. They missed the opportunity at its apex to really grow it to what it should be. So there were signs of life this past year, especially the Chicago show that we were at. That was awesome. But there's a reason they keep doing these U.S. shows. They, with the state of their economy, the state of their stock and everything, like that exchange rate is high. It's nice to get some dollars, change that shit to yen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to really kind of, weigh into that when we don't know the business measures and how it's doing for them overall. But, I mean, I think we've said for a long time on this show, it would be better just to have maybe like 4 U.S. shows. You make them all big and you kind of pepper them in between your New Japan big shows and make them more part of your calendar and kind of have storylines flow over to those shows.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but you also have to, it's a big gamble because the bigger the production, the bigger the costs are, the more liability there is that if it doesn't hit for whatever reason that might be, then maybe you're operating at a loss. You know what I mean? So plus it puts a lot more extra strain on the booking committee to make sure all this stuff works, is cohesive, the scheduling and all that. And, with these more regular, smaller US shows, they kind of keep their name in the niche category of drawing groups in the US that kind of keep their name relevant to some degree. Might not be the same level of success that they've had in the past, but it does serve a purpose. It depends on what you think their business strategy is between those two. And so far it seems that they're kind of doing a bit of a mix of the two. They have their big shows and then they have their smaller shows. But would I love for them to have like bigger arena shows like we saw the show in Chicago, periodically? Yeah, I would love that. But
Yeah.
I don't know if they're outfitted to accomplish that right now.
He also asked, is the junior heavyweight title picture in the same situation as the world title, or they don't have a big match for the dome as well? We kind of touched on that.
They don't need to. It's the junior title. It's not, in a perfect world, would I love it where that title was presented on a similar level and as prestigious? Sure, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's a secondary title.
And so that question, how would you feel about Oiwa returning at Wrestle Kingdom 19 at the end of the main event?
I'd probably pop.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool. I mean, he has the making of a star, so if you want to skyrocket him, that would definitely be the place to do it. Next question here from Frazzler. Assuming Zach is the champ in January, is there any chance he wins his match in the Dome?
Unless he's wrestling Naito or one of the like Tsuji, probably. Yeah, I think he probably wins. That includes Okada. As controversial as that take might be, I think if him and Okada wrestle in the Dome, he beats him.
Yeah, then that puts him, well, I guess it depends on where it's slotted. If it's the actual main event of the show, that puts him in really rarefied air of foreigners that have won a main event in the Tokyo Dome.
Yeah, it's I made a post about it on Twitter. The last time that's happened was Brock Lesnar in 2005.
Yeah, so that'd be really pushing Zach up. But again, there's the whole Hiromu Naito thing, and if that's going to be the actual main,
I think that there have been quite a few foreigners that have won in the Dome, but in terms of like and then when you go to main eventers, it thins out quite a bit, and there's been a few, but then when you change it to foreigners that have won in the main event in singles matches, then it really thins out. And most of those guys were either top draws or top attractions in a freak show capacity, like Chocha Visly, the guy that beat Inoki on the first Dome card. He wasn't even really a pro wrestler. That was like one of those Inoki freak show MMA different style fights, and he was a judoka. So it's like that almost doesn't count. And then oh god, what's the dude's name that Bob's not Jerome LeBanner? Fuck, I forget his name. Oh man, this is gonna drive me crazy. I'm gonna have to go to our Twitter. But yeah, there was an All Japan Hustle show where Bob Sapp lost a singles match to a famed kickboxing K1 champion that they had fought in the past multiple times in real fighting, but then they had a wrestling match, and and he lost to that guy in a wrestling match. But that was like this guy's only pro wrestling match ever. Okay, I've got it right here. It was Ernesto Hoost. And like that's Ernesto Hoost's only match, and it was a freak show fight against Bob Sapp. So, if you take them out, they're not even real pro wrestlers. Those are like, special attractions. The only quote unquote pro wrestlers that have won singles matches as foreigners in the Dome, it's Bob Sapp, Hulk Hogan, and Brock Lesnar. And Bob Sapp only did it one time. Hulk Hogan did it twice. And Lesnar did it twice. One of those matches was a triple threat. But Lesnar and Hogan are the only two guys that have won 2 singles matches in the Dome. And nobody's done it since Brock Lesnar in 2005. Period. Anywhere.
Yeah, so that would be really big if that does end up being the main event, Zach and Okada or Zach or whoever, and Zach wins. Like, that would be huge for him. In
modern times, the only foreigners that have headlined Wrestle Kingdom, like in the Wrestle Kingdom era, it's just Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, and Jay White. All three of those guys have headlined the Dome. None of them ever won. And when I say headline, I mean like the main event. Like obviously Kenny Omega and Jay White and even Will Ospreay, they all had big singles wins in the Tokyo Dome, but they never won the main event on January 4th or January 5th.
Right. Def Franklin 720 says, would it feel like a waste to have Hanare lose an ever title when he's been one of the standout talents on the roster this year?
Depends on your perspective, but I mean, we got a dome to sell. We got tickets to sell, man.
Right.
And, you know, it's a trade-off because for everybody that's been complaining for all these years about elevating Hiromu, in order for you to do that, a guy like Hanare has to lose. So it's one or the other. Like what? Pick your poison.
Yeah, and, you know, I love Hanare, but unfortunately, he's not a draw. Hiromu is. And if you want to do that Hiromu Naito match for a title, like, that's how you do it.
We only got to the point where we started to even really see Hanare as a viable draw this year, like this calendar year. I mean, he's been having great matches for a few years now, but like this is the first year where he's really taken that next step in elevation. And I'm sure that hopefully that continues as a trend, but I don't see that. If we had a high, like more top heavy, star driven main event scene, then there wouldn't be a reason to take the title off Hanare, but we don't. So they're going to need to use Hiromu.
Yeah. Next question here from Sexual Patriot. Who will be the next honky to win the G1?
I don't know. Don't count on it. It's so rare. It's only happened twice and it was highly unlikely both times. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Bolton's really the only person like in the pipeline. I feel like they're kind of building up to that level at some point, but
if I had to take a guess and I was looking at everybody, like my first gut instinct was like maybe like Big Kid, but that, you know, I don't know if he'll ever get to that level or not. But you kind of know that Bolton Oleg, like they've got those plans. And this is assuming in a perfect world, like he sticks with New Japan, their finances stay up. He never jumps to AEW or WWE or anything like that. And he sticks with wrestling. Then yeah, maybe him. But then again, there were a lot of top guys in New Japan who were foreigners that never even worked G1s and definitely never won them.
Yeah. So yeah, it could be a very long time until we see another foreign winner. Def Franklin 720, with the change of the G1 this year, do you think it's likely they'll change up World Tag League? The company doesn't really have any interesting teams, and it's not like they're going to sign a tag team to the company.
We've seen multiple variations of that tournament over the past like 5 or 6 years, so you just never know. It might be the same, it might change. I wouldn't take what was done with the G1 this year as any direct correlative cause as to what they would or wouldn't do when it comes to World Tag League time.
Yeah, weren't we back to 2 blocks for World Tag League last year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we have been for a while.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be the same format, and you know, that's the thing with these tournaments. They don't have to quote unquote sign teams. We saw last year they brought in, you know, Monster Sauce and all these other teams that weren't signed on full time and loaded up that tag league, and you do the same thing, especially with AEW involvement. And I know there's rumors of like Lucha Bros wanting to do World Tag League, and you know, Grizzly Young Vets, and
they're going to WWE, bro. Also, how great a wrestling name is Ray Gun?
That would be a great, yeah. Less Commission 7252. I seen an article about Joji Otani being accused pedo in 2019 for being in a relationship with a 16-year-old. Believe it or not, the age of consent at the time, and I don't know how, is 13. Any information about the incident? Do you think they're having Gabe hold on to the NJPW Strong belt Eddie Kingston until he recovered, since he continues to have talked mess about how he was the one to put him on the shelf? So kind of 2 questions blended in there.
Yeah, I don't know Joji Otani. I don't even know who that is. I've heard that that's someone that's like on the indies, but I don't watch the fake shit, you know?
Yeah, honestly, I had to Google who that was. I've never heard that name before. So
As far as like Gabe, he just won that title. So I don't know. Could they be having him hold on to the belt until Kingston's ready to come back? Maybe there's money in that. Sure. But what's the alternative? Who you got that should be holding that belt right now? That's not Gabe Kidd. I don't know.
Yeah. And also I kind of feel like Eddie's probably done with New Japan at this point. Like, I feel like when he comes back, it'll probably just be AEW and
yeah.
That's question to Franco 720. With only 4 months left in the year, do you think AEW or New Japan will even try to build any stories for Wrestle Dynasty?
Yeah, I'm sure they'll build a couple.
Yeah, I mean, we're in August right now. I mean, there's still plenty of time to kind of lay your groundwork and build a match in time for that show.
It's not going to be built the way that people probably want it to be built. It's not going to be built week in and week out on AEW television. That's for sure. Given that it's technically probably like a New Japan pay-per-view. And I mean, it's probably not going to be built until post King of Pro Wrestling, and post King of Pro Wrestling is World Tag League. So, you know, we'll probably see video packages. We'll probably be seeing some, you know, returns, shit like that, maybe at King of Pro Wrestling. And then maybe, I don't know if Historic Crossover will, you know, be part of that. I don't know if there's going to be any US shows, but I'm sure
there'll be a Power Struggle in November.
My bad. Okay. Power Struggle will probably be the last show where like stuff gets kind of established. There'll be social media shit. There'll be video packages. There'll be announcements. But, you know, New Japan's not a weekly episodic television show the same way AEW is. They don't build their title and, you know, stories and programs that same way. Maybe there'll be some US dates where some stuff can be built, but it's just got to temper your expectations. It's not, there will be some build, but it's not going to be the kind of build you're anticipating. Plus, there's going to be a lot of people. Let's say they do start doing a big build. People are going to be like, why are they focusing on January 5th when January 4th is the real show? You know?
Right.
And then when they build for January 4th, why isn't anyone paying attention to January 5th? They're damned if they do, they're damned if they don't. We all just got to have realistic expectations as to what that show is really going to be. And if they deliver, great. And if they don't, you know, then we don't need to have another one in the future. But I don't anticipate it being this masterfully booked, built, prolonged thing, you know?
Yeah, you're never going to make everybody happy. I think one thing they probably could do with, depending on who's in World Tag League, people who are not on that tour, maybe you can send them over to AEW TV. They kind of help build stuff. But yeah, I expect most of the bill will be video packages, call out kind of stuff.
Even if they do that, that's so small potatoes. You know what I mean? For the reality is what people really care about are the big crossover dream singles matches and that stuff. There's not TV to build it, and AEW is not going to devote their television time to it. If they do, that would be like a first, and that would be pretty cool, you know, for them to do that. But they haven't shown the propensity to be willing to do that for any New Japan-based show. Like, they don't even show the results and footage of like Wrestle Kingdoms when their top guys are on those shows. So
yeah,
even when their top guys win. So
yeah. He also asked, do you think we might have surprise tag teams for Super Junior Tag League due to the lack of teams?
I don't know. I would love if Mato was able to get back in the country and teamed with Ricochet. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
You know, Ricochet, I don't know if they would ever want him to work juniors again, and I think he wouldn't work Doki, but like that's a guy that could do something on a stage like that for that junior title. But you know, he's probably past that. But I'm just saying, like, in a hypothetical sense, could that be something? It could.
Yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, with his exposure, he'll probably want to be more seen as a heavyweight now, I guess. And so they'd probably bring him in.
Wasn't Doki and Mystico supposed to work together? What happened with that?
Yeah, there was some heat there after, I think, one of the Fantastica Mania Mexico or something like that, where they got into each other's face.
Title versus title? I guess it's just one of those things we're supposed to forget about.
Yeah. Unless, I don't know, CMLL's on that January 5th, label.
They are.
So you could do Doki Mystico there. So
throw in Dante Martin. You got yourself a scramble.
Next question here from Gunther. With January looming around, who do we think makes the leap away or decides to stay?
I don't think there's that many people in New Japan right now that AEW or WWE are really gunning for. They did a huge poach just very recently. New Japan sort of in rebuilding mode. If there was anybody, it'd be Zack Sabre Jr. Maybe Gabe Kidd, maybe ELP. But if it was anybody, it'd probably be Zack.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like Zack, I don't know, again, the whole professional liar thing, I feel like he really wants to stay in New Japan, but we know, I guess, eventually money talks, but I feel like, though, a guy like ELP would be a little bit more likely just because he's not in a super high position. He's always talking about his contract status, and I'm sure he would like to, be back in North America for a base. So I could see him being more likely than Zack next year. Last question here from Barry Walsh. Does Rick O'Shea being signed now to AEW make ELP signings seem more or less likely as you got a new flippy dude?
Deep pockets, Tony, got billions of dollars. There's no limitation to how many people they might sign for 100K plus. You never know. I mean, when they started that company, I don't know if you recall, Jeremy, but like I remember during the original like talking points surrounding the company of stuff they were and weren't going to do. One of them was like, we're not going to be a company that just signs everybody under the sun, to 100K contracts. 'Cause that's one of the things that like was the undoing of WCW and put them out of business. Now they got like 200 plus dudes under contract for probably over 6 figures, which is crazy. So why not let ELP get his bag? They're paying Kip Sabian.
True. Yeah. I don't think having Ricochet really negates having ELP. I mean, personally, I don't know if going to AEW for ELP will actually be great because there's so many guys there and there's only so much TV time. Is he going to get time dedicated to him like he would if he stayed in New Japan? Probably not.
Yeah, I don't know, but I don't see it being having any bearing one way or the other because they've signed Ricochet that they would or wouldn't sign ELP. They got a lot of guys that flip there. That's one of the things that people complain about them. Oh, everyone flips. It's not true, but what's are they don't want more dynamic guys that can do highly athletic things? Oh no, it's terrible.
Always another guy for a scramble.
Yeah.
And you know what? RLPW always gets over. So. All right. Well, that is it for the questions. Are we cranking back up? Recommended match of the week.
I will watch. Here's what I will do this week. I will watch Zack versus Hechicero 1 and 2 this week.
Okay.
And then go from there.
All right. So we just go with that. You want me to pick something too?
You already watched the first one. You could watch it again if you want. You don't got to.
All right, well, I'll just watch the second one.
Watch the second one.
Yeah.
Go from there. And we'll see how we feel next week.
All right. Well, that is going to be it for the show. So next week we'll be back to review Capital Collision, start talking about the Destruction Tour, also Shingo's 20th anniversary. And yeah, remember, if you want to watch our show live or listen without ads, you can sign up at patreon.com/KI Strong Style. You can also make a donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Also, kind of keep your eyes out pretty soon. There's going to be some great new merch options coming for our show and everyone here at the network. And make sure you connect with us on social media. On X, follow us at KI Strong Style, at Social Suplex, and at Jeremy L. Donovan. On Facebook, follow us at facebook.com/Social Suplex and the Wrestling Squared Circle Facebook group. On Reddit, I'm the Pro Black Guy, and Josh is Keeping It Strong Style. On YouTube, we are at Social Suplex. You can join us, our Social Suplex Discord server, to interact with us and other wrestling fans. You can email me, jeremy@socialsuplex.com. Check out all the other shows that we have here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd. All Things Elite, hosted by Floyd Johnson Jr. and Austin Simowitz. Imps WWE Adventure with The Implications, Matthew Mayer. Wrestling Art with Chris Things. Tunnel Talk with Allie, Ann, and Leah. And the Trish and Sarah Wrestling Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. And we'll catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Ichiban.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.